Hi, my name's Robyn Fritz. It's time for Coffee and Cosmos with Robyn. And today I want to talk about spirit guides. What's up with spirit guides? So many people have been asking about that lately and journeying to meet their spiritual teams with me. So we're going to talk about that this morning. So, again, welcome to Coffee and Cosmos with Robyn. My name is Robyn Fritz. I'm an intuitive and spiritual consultant and certified past life regression specialist based in Seattle. So please chime in with who you are, where you're chiming in from today. And today we're going to talk about spirit guides, what they are. I'll share some stories, some tips on connecting with them. We're going to do a crystal of the week and also taking questions. So if you have questions, comments, please chime in. And let's get started with a quick grounding and balancing exercise with the crystal Fallon. So this will help you just clear out the cares of the day and just relax into this space that humanity healing has created for us. So wherever you are in the world, you can connect with Fallon's energy based on how your intuition works. So as you gaze at him here, I'm going to put him right in front of me. Take a deep breath. And imagine you're connecting mind, body, and spirit together. And as you breathe down from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, just let the cares of the day flow away and wash away and just help you be in this space with us today. So breathing down from the top of your head, down your face, your throat, your shoulders, chest, hips, knees, and feet. So the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. And then as you breathe up from your feet, past your knees, hips, chest, shoulders, face, and the top of your head, just welcome in that healing light that is Fallon. You may experience it as a gold light, or you may hear him chat with you, feel his energy, just know that you're connected with him. So today I wanted to talk about our spiritual teams, what people call spirit guides or spiritual team members. And I want to start out with sharing a couple of stories that are like really surprising. And one was, well, just one story. And if we have time, other stories. But this is my personal story. I was sound asleep one night and all of a sudden I heard several voices, more than one voice, yelling very loudly, "Robyn, wake up." And I'm like, what? And I came flying out of bed and I'm like, what was that all about? I mean, I live alone with animals. There's no humans around making noises. And yet I heard these voices. And then I smelled something and I realized there was smoke in the house. And I realized that my electric blanket was on fire. So quickly got up, yanked it off the bed and put the fire out. But so whatever you think about electric blankets, I love them. But what was it that woke me up in the middle of the night to make sure I could put that fire out in time? And as it turned out, it was my spiritual team, along with my deceased dad, who's a very active presence in my life. But, it raises the question, most people are like, what are spirit guides? What do they do? And how do they work in our lives? And the main point I want to give you here from that story is that's very unusual. Your spirit guides are not going to step out in front of a speeding bus and push you out of the way. That's not what they do. Rarely, on rare occasions, you'll have a dramatic episode like I just shared with you. But for the most part, there are spiritual team members. They don't act as bodyguards. So, let's talk about this for a moment. And hi, thanks for chiming in and letting me know. Indira, where's SA? Cool. So thanks for chiming in. And if you have questions or comments, please go ahead and add those here. So a lot of people come to me and we do journeys, spiritual awakening journeys, or past life regressions, or even just intuitive consultations. And a lot of times their spiritual team will actually chime in and have things to say about what's going on in their lives. And so the whole concept of spirit guides or spiritual teams is, I guess, referring to it as a more modern metaphysical idea approach to spiritual guidance in our lives. When I grew up, the concept was guardian angels, and the only pictures I saw of people's ideas of guardian angels were benevolent white people with wings. That was guardian angel. And that's all I really knew about guardian angels growing up. And they were supposed to take care of us, but how they were supposed to do that, I don't know. As I got older and as I started exploring intuitive and healing work, and then became a consultant myself, I started working not just with my spiritual team, but with other people's teams. And so here's a little bit of what I know about them. You'll also find in the comments a link to a webinar I did several years ago that's up at the Learn It Live platform that you can click on and get more information about spiritual teams and how to access them. But I wanted to give you some just general ideas today. So here's what I know about spirit guides, that they're assigned to us at birth. And when I work with families with young children, my impression is that the spiritual guides that are assigned to young children are generally like guides in training. That's like their first few times around being a spiritual team member, and they're kind of learning the ropes, so to speak, which seems appropriate because most children don't have the issues that adults have. And this gives spirit guides an opportunity to grow up with them. However, there are times when I've worked with children who are extremely advanced intuitively and shouldn't be, because it's well beyond what they're capable of as children, intellectually and emotionally. And I've had to replace those spirit guides with the blessing of the children's parents, and work with the spiritual teams that I work with and bring in more advanced spirit guides to help those children with those particular skills. So what I'm getting at is spiritual guides are there to help us, mind, body, and spirit, and sometimes our needs change. And then our spiritual team will replace itself, or if we need to, we can invite help to replace them so that they are better able to help us in whatever that spiritual quest is. So that's a case where we would replace spiritual team members. But the other situation is throughout our lives, things change for us. And so we have spiritual team members for different activities. For example, I'm a writer. And when I sit down and start writing a project, I have muses. And years ago, I was told about muses, and I thought, like, wow, I mean, we think about our muses, right? We don't know they're actually real, and they are really spiritual guides whose job is to help us with our creativity. And that's kind of cool, right? So you think you're sitting there writing or composing a piece of music or an art piece, mosaic, whatever it is. Ask your muses to support you and to be there with you, and you realize you're not alone. They're giving you that good old moral support. And you can even ask them to chime in and help you concentrate better. Other spirit guides that I've met are healers, are actually specialists in healing professions. I have had spirit guides who are surgeons, work with human doctors. And yes, the human doctors did not know they were being supported by spiritual team members. But most recently this spring, my dog had to have surgery for a fractured premolar, very intense tooth because it has 3 roots and was major. And the veterinarian and I were arguing about what needed to be done. And I thought, I have additional help. So I called on my dog's spiritual team members and I said, please bring in some spiritual team members who work with animals in dentistry and take a look at his teeth because I think they're fine. And the answer came back, yes, his teeth are fine. This was just an accident. Just go ahead and take that tooth out. So I felt like I had backup that made me feel better about insisting on a procedure or a way of going about taking a tooth out that was far less expensive for me and still felt reassured about my dog's well-being. But that takes a lot of confidence in your spiritual team and in your ability to hear them. So I'll talk about that too. But also keep in mind that throughout our lives, our spiritual team members can change. Just like I said, I have muses for certain tasks. You may have a spiritual team member who can help you with your intuitive and healing abilities. And so you call on that particular being to help you. There are some people who say not all of us have spirit guides. I have never met anyone who doesn't have at least one. And I in particular have like hundreds, and I think that's not a compliment. I think it's like I'm a klutz. And I kind of need all those extra spirit guides around just to keep me going properly in the right direction. So I wouldn't brag about that. I'm just kind of saying that to reassure you if you have dozens of spirit guides, it's, maybe you're kind of a klutz like I am and need to pay a little bit more attention to things. So how do you connect with your spiritual team members? That's the big thing, right? Because they're there. They're around you all the time, but they can't do anything unless you ask them, right? So get in the habit of asking your spiritual team to chime in on a question, on a problem. Like I said, there's medical, like what do I eat, food issues, your animal's welfare, whatever. I mean, they can chime in on a lot of things. So how do you hear them? Well, you are aware of them based on how your intuition works, right? So there is seeing pictures, there's hearing voices, there's feeling their energy, or simply knowing you're connected. Those are the main intuitive abilities. And most of us can tap into all of those at one point or another. Some of us are particularly strong in one of those main areas. So once you know how your intuition works, that's how you can connect more easily with your spiritual team members. So in my own life and with clients, I talk with them a lot. So I hear what they have to say, which is really useful because people who are just clairvoyant and can only see will have to rely on symbolism. And, that can be a little iffy sometimes, at least in my experience. So I like being able to use all four intuitive skills. But if you're very strongly a feeling person, then trying to talk with your spiritual team member isn't going to be as immediately useful to you as simply sitting, asking them for participation and feeling what the answer may be if that's how you're feeling, and even having them step close to you. So regardless of how your intuition works, as I said, the only way that our spiritual team can work with us is if we ask them for their help, ask them for their input. And why is that? It's because we have free will. So they're not going to step in and do something unless we ask for it. Now, going back to the story of the electric blanket, I had been actively working with my spiritual team. So I guess they felt like, like they could let me know something. But don't count on that. Don't count on them, like I said, pushing you out of the way of a speeding bus, because that's not what their job is. Their job is more metaphysical. It's more helping us wade through all the different options in our life so that we learn to grow our souls. And that all comes back to learning to love ourselves. And that, I will admit, is the biggest problem that I've had in my life, is learning to love myself. And I imagine that is true for a lot of you. It's actually true for the majority of us. Living or dead, our biggest problem is we don't love ourselves. So try inviting your spiritual team to show you how much they love you and to give you some tips on how you can learn to love yourself more. And learning to love yourself more helps you grow your soul. And as you're doing that, you're filling yourself up with all of this healthy, positive love. That's when you can turn around and give back to the world around you. So a lot of people will say, "Oh, that's really egotistical, loving yourself," and it's not. It's the most important thing there is um, for us in our lives. It's the most important thing that helps us grow our souls, and that's what our spiritual team is there for. So when you make a mistake, when you feel you've done something stupid, or when you've done something so bad that maybe you're going to jail for it for a few days or a long period of time, or friendships have been damaged, you're feeling lost and alone, ask your spiritual team to step close and boost you up, because that's their job, and they're there because they love you and they're learning to train and be supportive in that work. Now, what are they like, right? So, who are they? Well, as I said, my concept growing up of guardian angels was benevolent white people with wings, right? And that's not who I've ever seen. I've never even seen angels with wings. So, pardon me if you have, that's great. But our spiritual team members are assigned to us at birth. They change during our lives, as I said. So, what can they look like? Well, I have a spiritual team member who appears to me as Native American and actually did live in the Montana area some years ago, because I actually saw a picture of him in a museum when I was at Yellowstone National Park. And they're like, "Oh, I know that guy." So there you go. So sometimes when we die, we get the option to reincarnate or to stay in the etheric realm, so to speak, and train to be spirit guides. Now, I've had clients who've shown up for mediumship sessions, for example, and I remember several parents who had died and came back to chat with their kids and were very intrigued with spirit guides and were thinking they wanted to be one. And my client said, "Well, is my mom or my dad, are they going to be my spirit guides?" And the answer seems to be no, because it takes a period of time to train them. And by that time, you'll already be in the afterlife. But they can certainly be part of your life, as my dad is part of mine, even though he died 25 years ago. So I have another spirit guide who's a Japanese man. I have my muses. I have a friend whose spirit guide has been a wolf since she was a little girl, and he shows up at our house to help with my animals, or on my trips to Yellowstone National Park, especially my trips where we do, where I take a group of people and we do like a vision quest and intuitive training right there in the park. He shows up and joins in the fun. Other people report their spiritual team members look like colored lights or even orbs of light. So they can take any appearance. It's kind of based on how your intuition works again, and also how comfortable you feel with the way they present themselves. So if you're concerned about a spirit guide presenting as an animal, then they would present in a different way. So ask them to present to you the way that you're most comfortable with, or even the way they would like to present to you, and see what you get, because that could be really entertaining, right? And again, though, it depends on your ability to see them, right? Clairvoyance. So a couple of things about spirit guides. Again, you have to invite them to work with you, right? And accept their help. And the clincher on that is their job is to aid us in our spiritual development. So mind, body, and spirit, again, helping us grow our soul in this lifetime through thick or thin, right? Through tough times and good times. But our spirit guides don't live through us. So here's a caution when you want to connect with your spirit guides. There are lots of beings out there who are not spirit guides, who are different kinds of beings altogether, and we can talk about that in future shows. But they may not necessarily be benign or be working in your best interest. So if you are connecting to a spirit guide and it says, I want to speak through your body, or I want to control things for you, run like heck in the other direction, because they're not spirit guides. And they're not working in your best interest. So learn, when you're doing intuitive and healing work in particular, you're inviting attention from all sorts of beings out there. So invite your spirit guides to step close to you. Get to know them. Set aside, 10 minutes on the weekend and ask your spiritual team to show up, and let your intuition guide you in connecting with them, and see how you feel about that. Your judgment on who they are and how they're acting is what is important for you, and will help you as you continue to work with them on a daily basis. And really, they're really remarkable beings. They've chosen really tough jobs to move forward on their own spiritual development, and that is helping us in our lives. So they can be a lot of fun. They can be annoying, and they can really help you practice your humility. For example, I had a spirit guide. His name is Maya, and he was here for a long time in my house. And what I didn't realize is that he was a presence right there. And I would walk through him on a regular basis and I'd get cold and cranky. So in conversation with my spiritual team, we decided to move him to the fireplace where he would be out of the line of where I was walking. But he got bored and he quit. And I say, my spirit guide retired to California. And he actually did. He's now a friend spirit guide. And I said, you could, I'm teasing him one time, you could come back and work with me again. He goes, no, I'm not going to do that. So have fun with your spiritual team members. They're there to help you, and they're there to guide you, and experiment and see what you get, and let me know, right? So do we have any questions? Hi from Maine. Hey, thanks for all your chiming in. Hi to all of you. And I know usually what happens is people comment later after the broadcast is over. But I want to thank you for joining us today. And I want to give you a crystal of the week that will help you connecting with spirit guides. And I picked this particular piece. As you can see, I'm trying to move it so you can see. So this is apophyllite, and apophyllite is like a clear quartz crystal, but you see how it's pointed? It's all, that's how you can recognize apophyllite, because it's like triangular shape. And even a very large piece of apophyllite will be, like this piece, will have multiple points on it. So that's how you can tell apophyllite. And what's really great about apophyllite is it helps you get over your fear of connecting, right? So it is a really great crystal for spirit guide communication. It can boost our perception, right, and help clear body, mind, and spirit of all of our anxieties. And that boosts our intuitive connection to our spiritual team. So it helps with self-confidence, which is really great because, so many people come to me and they say they can't connect with their spirit guides and they're kind of worried about it. And it's just sit back and relax and see what happens. Just remember to pay attention to what you get and run it all through your filter of what makes sense to you, what feels right to you, and go from there. You'll have a lot of fun. So I want to thank you for joining me today to talk about spirit guides. And I'm here every week. If you have a topic you'd like me to cover, please let me know that. If you like this show and the other videos and information that they offer, please like, the Humanity Healing page, the Home Times page, my business page, the Practical Intuitive Robyn and Fritz. You can always contact me there and ask a question. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what topics you'd like to cover in future shows. Also, I host the Home Times radio show, The Practical Intuitive, Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. It airs the first and third Mondays of the month at 2 Pacific time, 5 Eastern. So today's show, I'm talking with author Teo Alfaro about his book, The Wolf Connection, and the practice that he runs in California called Wolf Therapy, which will be really interesting because it talks about wolves not just as animals, but as beings that we can watch and observe and learn how to live our lives as more complete humans. So that'll be interesting. But I offer personal and business intuition, mediumship, animal communication, and space clearing, and past life and between life regression. And of course, spiritual journeys to meet your team or to meet your soul purpose in life and to work out issues. So you're welcome to contact me at my website, robynfritz.com, and that's up here in the comments. So again, thank you for joining us today. Spirit guides are really amazing beings. They have their souls that have taken on really tough jobs at times. So help them out by relaxing, learning to connect with them, learning to discern what works for you and what doesn't, and letting them know that. And so thank you for joining me. We'll see you next week. Take care.